Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 247 DIY, and the second episode in this small mini-series of getting this old Craftsman lawn tractor set up as a dedicated snow blowing tractor. In the last video, we went ahead and replaced this leaky valve cover gasket. I'll be sure to link that below if you want to check that out. But in today's video, we're going to be tackling getting these old leaky tires sorted out. And at the same time, we're going to be doing a bit of an upgrade, which is to go ahead and change the wheel bushings that are pretty standard on these tractors to a wheel bearing setup. So stay tuned. So as you might notice, this side is actually already done. I just wanted to go ahead and make sure that the parts that I had ordered were actually the correct parts and everything was going to fit. So this side's already done, but I'll go ahead and show you everything and how to do it on this side that still needs to be done. So the first thing we need to go ahead and do is get the lawnmower in the air. I do have a lawnmower jack, but unfortunately that ties up the front wheels, so that's really not going to work. So just a standard automotive jack underneath the center cross beam right here. We'll lift it right up and allow you to work on the front wheels without any issues. All right, here we are on the left-hand side of the tractor. First thing we need to do is go ahead and get this wheel off. So first we need to remove this dust cap here on the wheel. These can be a little bit tricky, but basically what I found to work the best is just to get a long flathead screwdriver, and you just get on it from side to side and kind of pry it out, and you just work your way back and forth until eventually it will pop off. So next we need to go ahead and remove this E-clip right here. It's basically what holds the washers and the whole assembly on there. But you can just pry it out with your flathead again and it'll pop off. Take your washers off and then slide your wheel right off the axle. And then remember that there will be a washer on the back side too. All right, so the first thing I did, and it's kind of my go-to if I'm not looking to spend a whole ton of money, is I jumped on Amazon, and first I was just looking for new tires. Basically, these tires continuously go flat, and I have to add air pretty much every time I want to go mow. Originally, I just thought it was a puncture in one of the tires, but when I filled these up and sprayed them down with soapy water, I realized that it's just a whole bunch of dry rot around the sidewall. You spray soapy water on there and just everything starts bubbling up around here. So the tires were shot. So originally, I was just looking for new tires. When I was looking at tires, I actually found this Maristar brand. They were selling tires, which is what I got here, wheel and tire combos. And there was only like a $2 price difference, so I figured why not just go ahead and save myself the headache of having to dismount the old tires off here and then mount new tires on, when I could just pay a couple extra dollars and get brand new wheels and everything here. These are kind of nice because they do come with new washers and a new E-clip and everything you would need, even though some of this we're not going to be using when we do the bearing conversion. And the only issue, which I knew about going into it, because when I was reading the reviews, you can see that these aren't quite exactly the same size. They're slightly smaller diameter and they're not quite as wide, even though they are both 15 by 6-6. So just the difference in manufacturing there, I don't think it's going to make too much of a world of difference. And for the price, a pair of these wheel and tire combos, it was like 60 bucks. So you really couldn't beat that. So then the next thing I decided to do was to go ahead and do what is actually a pretty popular upgrade on these Craftsman tractors, is to upgrade the bushings in the wheels to bearings. Now, I'm sure you could shop around and look for a very specific brand or manufacturing for this kit. In my case, when I threw these wheels and tires in my cart on Amazon, this was basically just a suggested item that came up, so I threw it in my cart. It was $19 for this kit. Like I said, I've already done the one side of the tractor, so if you order it, your kit will come with 4 bearings, 2 new dust caps, 2 large washers, 2 standard size washers, and 2 new E-clips. This is an extremely straightforward process to go ahead and swap out, so let me go ahead and show you how to do it. So as I explained before, this is a bushing style wheel. There's 2 bushings, there's one pressed into this side and there's one pressed into this side. They don't reach all the way through, and so there's a space in the middle, and we're going to use that space to our advantage to get them out. So I'm just going to take an extension, I'm going to reach it in until I can get on the bottom bushing, and we're just gonna start giving it some taps with a hammer. After a couple taps, move to the other side. It'll make life easier if that starts to come out straight versus starting to bind up at an angle. And there you go, just like that, one bushing out. So we'll go ahead and do the other one. This one will be a little bit more easier because now we don't have a bushing in the way. And there's both your bushings out. Next up, because now we don't have to worry about greasing these because these are sealed, self-contained bearings, and it can bind. I'm not 100% sure if the outer race here would 100% reach down far enough to contact the opening for this Zerk fitting here, but we're not going to need it anyway, so we might as well just go ahead and remove it. Now these aren't in there very tight, but you will just need a pair of channel locks or something to go ahead and just twist them out. And this one was actually mangled from the manufacturing process. That wasn't me, so it actually probably wouldn't have even added grease inside the wheel anyway. It's all plugged up there at the back, so I guess it's a good thing we're replacing these out anyway. So next we're just going to go ahead and install these bearings in the wheel here. It's a pretty simple process. You just want to make sure that when you're hammering these down in, or if you're going to use a press, pressing these down in, you want to press on the outer bit here. Don't press on the inner race here of the bearing because you can damage the bearing. So we're just going to set that in there nice and straight as we can. And I have a socket that's going to rest on the outer portion there, and we'll just give that a few whacks with a hammer. I like to take the socket off after a couple and just see, you know, how straight it's going in. Like for example, right now, this side needs to go down a little bit more, and you can just kind of adjust your socket as you're going to what side needs to go down a bit straighter. And there you go. You're just going to seat it down until it's seated nicely and nice and flat here with the opening here for the bearing. So let's go ahead and do the other side. And as easy as that, we've got both bearings now installed on this wheel. So next, before we go ahead and actually install the wheel, what we want to do is we want to clean this spindle up here that your wheel sits on. Sometimes these can get rusty. If you have a lot of rust on there, you're going to want to go ahead and actually take some actual sandpaper and work that rust off of there. The tolerances on those bearings is pretty tight, and so you need to make sure that you don't have excess material on there, or else they're not going to slip on there. But even without any rust, which I don't have any rust, the problem with that bushing style bearing is even well greased up, you still have metal on metal contact, and so you do deposit some debris and some metal and some bearing material. You can see there on my fingers there. So we need to get that off of there. Like I said, the tolerances on those bearings is pretty tight. So just going to clean the excess grease off of there, and then go ahead and just hit it with a Scotch-Brite. And then just to make things a little bit easier, sliding the new bearings over the axle, just going to apply a little bit of grease to the axle. This is just brake caliper slide pin grease. So now we're going to go ahead and install the wheel. I have seen people suggest different ways in which to place the washers on there. I'm just going to go ahead and put mine back the way they were on this tractor, which is a little bit different than what I've seen some people suggest. It's possible, because I did buy this years ago used, that the original owner may have had the wheels off and didn't put the washers back. I'm just going to put them back the way that they were on there. So that's going to be one of the smaller standard size washers first, and then we'll throw the wheel on. And we're going to make sure that we're installing the side that has the air fill nipple here facing outward. Slip that on there, and then what I found, again, because these tolerances are pretty tight, you can just gently take a rubber mallet and tap these home. And then we need to install our washers, and we need to do it in a way so that when we finally install the E-clip last, there's a nice tight fit here. If you have looseness where the wheel can kind of rock in and out a little bit, then you need to add another washer, maybe two, depending on how much clearance you might have there. I think there's some differences in models depending on exactly how wide these wheel faces are. For me, on the other side, it was the large washer included in the kit, and then one more standard size washer. Gives me a nice tight fit after I put the E-clip back on there. And there you go. There's nice tight fit. Wheel doesn't move in and out on the axle. And now that those are installed, we can go ahead and just throw our new dust cover right back on there. Just like that. So as easy as that, we got 2 new wheels and 2 new tires installed in the front end of this tractor, as well as a little bit of an upgrade getting those bushings swapped out for bearings. So if you like the video, be sure to hit that like button. Feel free to leave a comment below, and if you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. That way you don't miss out on the next one, where we go ahead and tackle this terrible slop in the steering wheel. So I'll see you in the next one.